I'm trying to bring things together for you all in the alternative world so that you begin to understand that there's a lot of options out there that we can begin to look at and explore. Today, we have Dr. Rich here. We're going to be doing some live and dry blood testing and using the heart biofeedback monitoring, which is going to explore a lot about what we're made out of and what's going on within our higher selves and all of that stuff, and how it ties into the other work that may be coming down the line with other alternative therapies. So I hope you enjoy what's going to be shown today. I think you're going to be surprised a lot by it. It's very exciting stuff. So I will take an exit and let Dr. Rich take the floor.
Thank you for having me here today. I appreciate that. Appreciate Zev volunteering. Appreciate Gus being here with the cameras. Thank you very much. And I just want to give a shout out to my mom and dad, Charles Massey and Evelyn Townsley Massey. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the fact that somebody loved me and took care of me growing up. And to my grandparents and other relatives as well. We're going to be looking today and actually discovering amidst all of this that since Zev and I, neither one of us created our own DNA, we are part of a family. When we understand our family, we understand more about our biology. My biology actually is an expression of my family. So for instance, we'd start with your name. So if we look at the name Zev, it's interesting here, huh? Yeah. So when the family names someone, they actually do the name subconsciously, knowing the direction that the person's going to take. Zev is actually a Hebrew name, and it means wolf. And so I like to do all three names. We're just doing Zev today, but I would encourage everyone out there to Google all of your names, find out what they mean. Also, put your birth date in place. That's very, very important. And Google what was going on in the place of your birth, the year of your conception, the year of your birth, and the year of your infancy. You can actually find out what your parents were suffering with, what they were challenged with, during the time that your brain and nervous system were actually forming. The brain and nervous system take on the suffering of the parents during this 30-month period of time. Every piece of information about this 30 months is going to be replayed at specific intervals during your life and my life, and with certain triggers. When we map that out, we realize that our reactions to things were actually programmed in during this 30-month period, and we took these things on out of pure love and loyalty. So here's how this works. For every mammal, the most dangerous time is when they're pregnant or nursing, because they need more food and they can't get away from predators as fast.
Very vulnerable.
So yes, very vulnerable. So the way biology compensated for that is that all the stress and distractions of the parents go into the forming nervous system of the baby, so that the parents can focus on the important things of survival. Okay. So that means if mom's brother has an accident during the pregnancy or the infancy, and she can't take the time or the energy to grieve because she has a little one to take care of, the grieving goes into this one. And if it happens at 7 months in the womb or 7 months in the infancy, the person will remember the dying brother every 7 years for the rest of their life until the story is returned to mom and the brother. Then the person is free, and every 7 years they can remember mom and their brother in a good way, rather than some grief coming out of nowhere that the person projected onto whoever they were with and thought, oh, this person's about to leave me.
Or something.
Or making up a story and not realizing it's a story that got programmed in here in the womb or during the infancy.
Okay. There's so much there.
Yes, and illnesses are the same way. Illnesses are ways of remembering how much we love our family. It's not something wrong with our body. And that's what I'd like for people to get. And this has been scientifically proven, and we'll go into that. Yeah, but
So
go
you say
ahead.
love, how we love our family, or how we are attached, honor, and
Yes.
we took on faith, all of that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because we're little beings that don't even know our name yet.
No difference.
So we're kind of like Jesus. We're like the nervous system is. It's like
Yeah.
saying, put all your suffering on me
Okay.
so you can be free. And
so
I'll
the
carry it.
diseases are when we go back into that mode. Okay.
Yes. And in sustainable cultures, at age 13,
Yeah.
they would take you and me and they would go, okay, guys,
Right. Right.
all these things in your brain and nervous system, you innocently inherited those. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the village together. We're going to drum and sing.
Yeah.
We're going to throw you in a hole for 3 days and nights with no food or water.
Right.
And you're going to have a conversation with your true self.
Right.
And all this programming is going to fade away.
Right.
And then when we come out of that hole, we're raised by different parents from 13 on.
Absolutely.
Or we'll go back into trying to rescue our parents again.
Yes.
Because that's what was programmed in there.
Okay.
All the things that we
That's
took
very
on
enlightening.
to balance them, right?
It's liberating to just hear and realize that.
Yes, yeah. So I encourage everyone to get a form like this. And this actually comes from Dr. Renault's book, Recall Healing. I'll show you that one in a minute. And you can put actual pictures of your parents over here before the conception. You don't have to have a picture of the conception. That may be a little too private. You can get a birth picture of yourself and an infancy picture of yourself and write down everything your mom and your dad tell you about what went on during this time. And a whole bunch of things will start to make sense. And let me just go ahead and show Dr. Renault's book. So this is Dr. Jobert Renault's book on recall healing. He put all of Dr. Hammer's work in a nice French storytelling scientific way. And it has all kinds of diagnoses like strep throat, lupus, diabetes, cancer, different parts of the body. And what love stories, those are actually remembering, or what family stories of honoring. It's a completely different way of looking at things rather than going into just the Western mode where we're made to think that something is wrong with our body and we need to do some medicine or surgery to fix the thing that's wrong. And I'm not saying that's not having a lot of science with it. I'm saying it's a limited perspective.
Yeah.
We'd like another perspective.
Treats it at that juncture only, but not the next cycle.
Right. Okay. So we looked at Zev and his birthday and all that, and we'll be showing some of that. But right now we're going to get a blood sample so you can look at it. And as it happens sometimes when we're on camera or whatever, we can lose the blood flow to our finger or whatever. If you put that on your earlobe, and you can rub your earlobe and get a little circulation in it. And I'll explain this a little bit to people since we're taking a moment to do this. So if you look at this from the Institute of Heart Math, and they call it an M-Wave 2. And when we put this on, it's actually looking for 0.1 hertz, which is the magnetic frequency that comes from the Earth. So when this turns green, your heart is putting out 0.1 hertz, which means you're in tune with the Earth. So since our bodies are made of Earth,
Yes.
it's telling us something significant is going on. All right. Which side of your body is more challenged, the right or the left? Which side has more pain, more surgeries, more injuries, more root canals?
Left.
The left side. Okay. So if you would just make a fist with your left hand, and you can kind of hold it out here, and then whichever finger you want to flip up, and it's not Sunday school, you can flip up whichever finger you want, and we will get a blood droplet from that finger. All right. So he picked the index finger. Oh my goodness. Well, now we know a lot about Zev. The index finger is actually the finger of judgment. Where we kind of point the finger at somebody. It's just one of the stories, though. All right, so we're going to get a little droplet here, and we're going to hold that droplet straight up and down for about 25 seconds. During this 25 seconds, the heavy fluid, which is blood and lymph, this is not blood like you'd get out of a vein. This has blood and recycling fluid with it. So we're going to get to see your garbage fluid, your recycling fluid, and the blood all mixed together when we look. The screen up there is showing a balanced dry blood droplet that we'll compare Zev's to. And we dab these fluids on this slide, and they are going to form little scabs over the next few minutes, and we're going to watch some of that. We want to get another little droplet here, and this other little droplet, we're going to cover it up so that it stays alive for about 24 hours, and we can watch it. And let's see if that'll spread out a little bit. Did you have breakfast this morning?
Yes, I did.
What did you have?
Fruit and nuts, fresh fruit and soaked nuts, and a cheese ball.
All right. That sounds pretty healthy. Did you feel okay after you ate it?
Yes, I did.
All right.
Felt good.
So we're going to look at all these little droplets here, and we're going to watch them dry. So here we see this droplet. It's actually drying from the outside in. And if any impression comes to you about, what you're seeing, you just go ahead and can do a Rorschach test or whatever you want to say that you're seeing there.
Yeah, the center seems to be popping out, coming at me, or me going into, like where your peripheral vision goes by.
Yes.
Has that feeling.
People discovered over 100 years ago that these blood cells, when they dry into a scab, they actually are leaving like a deathbed confession, since the cells are actually dying, about what's going on inside the body from their point of view. So this is drying from that upper left corner down. Those white areas are areas that we would say on a physical level are areas where there's free radicals. When the white areas fill in with red blood cells, like the one down there just did, we want to watch the white areas, and when they get smaller, you see those red blood cells moving in? That's healing activity.
Okay.
It took me 13 years of watching this. Look at it there again. That one there is filling in with red blood cells, which in recall healing represent members of the family clan. So it's like saying that family reunions, at the level of the heart, are what we need for healing.
And so that's blood cells from the surrounding, or are there new ones being made? Or?
There's no new ones being made. These are ones that are being pulled in. It's kind of a family honoring, honestly, pulling them in and healing these areas of separation. So these white areas are areas of separation where the fabric of the little scab is broken apart. The black lines are fibrinogen changing to fibrin. You can see them appearing out of nowhere. And eventually we want to see all the black lines connect, like you saw in that original one.
Okay.
And it takes about 15 minutes for that to completely form. And I think all the white areas now have filled in as much as they're going to. So any symptoms a person has is because they're healing, not because they're ill. The healing takes a lot of work. As you see all of these things moving around, the healing, when we're doing it quickly, will be fever, chills. All of that is a healing reaction. Almost all illnesses are completely silent. It's the healing part of the body's work that we feel. And that's completely backwards of everything I learned in pharmacy school and medical school. So just a bit of background, I started out as a medic in 1974 in the Air Force. I was the immunization allergy guy. And then I went to pharmacy school, then I went to medical school, then took anesthesiology training and became a board certified anesthesiologist. I gave that up in October of 97 and started doing holistic medicine in February of 98. And I got a microscope about that time and started doing all kinds of natural things. It was all basically on a physical level because that's all I knew. So I didn't learn about these family stories. I don't know in your culture if you grew up with awareness of those things or not, how important they can be.
It's a bit of a reclaimed part for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so as we take a look at this, we would want to just notice the differences between this one, which is somebody who is in balance, and yours. And if you were an actual person and we were here in private and we were doing an actual session with some issue that you had,
Right.
we would point out what each of these differences
Gotcha.
mean. And we would also, and the main thing, is listen for your story.
Understood.
And as you tell your story, we want to see which parts of your story are high coherence and low coherence.
Sure.
And that lets us know something about what you inherited in the womb and during your infancy, because you'll resonate when you hit those parts. And sometimes just from retelling the story in high coherence, an illness will just, what we call an illness, which is really a healing process,
That's fascinating.
will actually just complete itself. And then you can just go on your merry way. And see, that's actually true for his subconscious. So when I say that, he knows that's what's going on deep down inside. So sometimes I just say provoking things, and then I watch to see how you respond. And if it's in there,
the
then
subconscious is doing the work.
Yes, the subconscious is totally doing the work.
Right.
And when the heart and the subconscious and the conscious are all lined up, that's when we're happiest and in our best balance.
You bet.
Yeah, okay. So that's what we'd be doing here. And we might point out just a couple of things. So I learned earlier that Zev worked on an oil rig. Okay, so we noticed this droplet has a black ring around the outside of it. So that black ring is heavy metals. So when I see somebody with a lot of heavy metals, I listen for any kind of symptoms going on in their life where heavy metals might be playing a part and suggest to them something to reduce heavy metals.
All right.
Right? The center part, when that center part is the digestive area usually, and when we see a darkness in the center, I would ask somebody how their elimination is.
Okay.
Because if a person did a few coffee enemas or a couple of colonics or took enough vitamin C and magnesium to poop more often, that'll be pink or red all the way through the middle. Yeah. And then if the person feels better, then we're just all excited about that. And we would also check hormone levels. So when we see that pink area that doesn't really have too much of a net in it, we wonder about hormone levels. And so we would just ask somebody to get some lab work and check that out.
Okay.
So that's the dry part. And we can keep that slide. That slide, we'll keep that for a year. And a person can come back in and do different changes. And we can watch and see.
Reference.
Yeah, we have a reference slide. And now we'll put on the live one so people can see what that looks like. And so we were noticing earlier, while I'm getting this focused in here, that you're in an interesting part of your life biologically. And we'll take a look at that. In just a minute. This takes a moment to focus. How long ago did you eat?
What time is it now? So around 9:15. I
Okay.
finished my. Yeah.
All right. So there's those red blood cells, huh? And so do you have any physical symptoms that you would want to talk about or not?
No, I don't feel any that
Okay.
are bothering me.
Yeah,
physically.
good.
Yeah.
So these are red blood cells. We like it when they look like vanilla wafers. For anybody who remembers vanilla wafers, sort of a little round cookie.
Yeah.
And most of those look that way. The little bit of debris in the background is from your lymphatic fluid
Okay.
and probably leaks in from a little bit of leaky gut. And that's those white spots we saw in the center of the dry.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have some extra of what we call eosinophils. And that's a type of white blood cell, looks kind of like an egg, fried egg or something.
All right.
And you have two of them there.
Mm-hmm.
And we scan the white blood cells and look for general nutrition and the proportion of the white blood cells and things like that. And then we also look around for critters and things that aren't supposed to be in there. But yeah, whenever somebody has extra eosinophils, we think in terms of they have virus helpers going on.
Fighting something. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll segue into a little bit of the corona thing.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we have these little particles that people have labeled viruses, it's just funny how names work. So when we look at the name Zev and we see there's a meaning to it and it predicts a trajectory, yes, the name virus meant poison for over 300 years.
Okay.
And then somebody took a word that meant poison and put it on these little tiny particles
Okay.
that didn't have a name yet.
So the connotation came with it.
The connotation comes in the subconscious mind of a human, and we think negatively when we hear the word virus, when actually these little particles are actually coming to genetically update us, just like our computers get updated.
Right.
And they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I was an anesthesiologist. We'd wear masks, but everybody knew it didn't stop a virus. We were just trying to be able to talk without spitting into someone's open body during surgery.
Right.
So it catches spit, but it won't stop a virus.
Absolutely.
So it's a bit scientifically off what's going on now.
Yeah.
So I want my corona update.
Mm-hmm.
I want the corona particle, whatever it is, to come into my body and update me so that I'm ready for whatever's coming.
Right.
Right? And if it gets out of hand, I do an ultraviolet IV and it just gets its update very quickly. And I've had like 6 people who tested positive who had the symptoms and they're all fine.
Right.
Right? I have 0 mortality on people with those symptoms. Unlike the people who go into the hospital,
Right.
they have high mortality sometimes
Right.
because we don't understand that
What else is going on?
this is not about what we think. This is not some boogeyman particle coming to get everybody.
Right.
So that's really sad. The other thing is food sensitivities and parasites. So those are the 3 things that somebody can have where you have extras of these eosinophils.
Okay.
So we would just listen for your story. And since you've done some international traveling,
Right.
we might suggest a parasite cleanse. Although good Americans who grew up here, we used to get dewormed every year when I was a kid. Everybody in the block got together. We had more community back then.
Yeah.
All the parents got together and said, let's give the kids a worm pill on Tuesday.
Okay.
And then we'd do another one 2 or 3 weeks later. So we got dewormed together, you know. So it's kind of important to do that once in a while.
So and the parasite cleanse, is that pretty selective, or does that do like, or is there like some
Yeah,
good stuff that gets cleaned with it?
I think so. I do a nice herbal cleanse once in a while. It cleans out a lot of things.
Gotcha.
But if you have no symptoms, I really wouldn't do anything. I would just go, oh, that's interesting. I have one of those 3 things going on. We could assume you just have little exosome or viral helpers.
Yeah.
And you're fine with them. You're getting your genetic update.
All right.
Right?
Makes sense.
I like that. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And I think there's a little bell up there that you can hit that you'll get a notification every time we post. So if you want to, you can hit that too. But thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.